Welcome, sharp-eyed watchers of the silver screen, to a charged new chapter from Turkish series stars. Tonight, Istanbul feels less like a postcard and more like a mirror for the tempest swirling around two of television's most luminous figures. For years, many held up Akınözü and Ebru Şahin as the calm center of fame's chaos, refined, synchronized, and discreet. But the varnish has cracked. After a long stretch of silence and carefully edited smiles, Ebru has stepped forward to lift the curtain on a side of their love story that was never meant to be seen. What she said has rattled the image of Akın as the unshakable gentleman, and if whispers are true, anger is running hot behind closed doors. Before we wade into a story about control, emancipation, and the gray space between love and authority, a quick invitation. If you appreciate bold, long-form storytelling that asks difficult questions, subscribe to Turkish series stars, tap the bell so you're always among the first to hear the next development, and consider pressing that join button to back the kind of work that digs past the headline gloss. So breathe in, because the illusion is over. The revelation arrived like lightning out of a blue sky. Ebru Şahin, who had long maintained a respectful silence around the specifics of her split from Akınözü, decided the era of polite diplomacy was finished. At a recent gathering, standing beneath the harsh light of flashbulbs and steady cameras, she spoke with a calm that made her words sound even heavier. She said she would no longer play along with a narrative that wasn't hers, hinting that the home she shared with a national icon did not resemble the dream so many projected onto them. She didn't shout. She didn't lash out. She simply peeled back the veneer. The crux of her disclosure, the guarded piece she had protected to avoid destroying his carefully cultivated image, centered on duality. The Akınözü we all know, collected, precise, immaculate before the lens, reportedly carried another side into their private world, one shaped by an unforgiving perfectionism and a need to orchestrate. Ebru described a relationship where spontaneity slowly withered under the weight of plans stacked on plans. What began as care, suggestions that felt like concern, the kind of attentiveness fans often romanticize, became a shining cage. According to her, Akın wanted every thread of life to align with a vision he had already storyboarded in his mind, a director's cut in which both their roles were defined without negotiation. Sources close to Ebru say this wasn't about a boyfriend offering the occasional protective nudge. It was monitoring. The projects she was offered allegedly went through his filter. If a role looked risky or didn't fit a shared brand, it hit a wall. It didn't end at the studio gates. The circles she joined, the friends she kept, even the tone and timing of the images she posted were, they claim, weighed against his silent rubric. For a while, she interpreted it as devotion. There's a comfort in believing someone wants to shield you. But somewhere along the line, she noticed her own voice had fallen to a whisper, drowned out by a chorus that always began with the same refrain, "I'm thinking of what's best for you." She reportedly told friends that the hardest part wasn't a single blow-up, but a steady drip of second-guessing that left her advocating for herself inside her own life. What the world saw, she says, was an ocean of composure. What she felt was the exhausting rhythm of tiptoeing through criticisms that never quite announced themselves as commands, only to echo like orders afterward. Let's pause, Turkish series stars family. Ebru's testimony brushes against a very real fault line. Where does care end and control begin? How many of you have felt advice shift, almost imperceptibly, into a mandate? Drop your stories in the comments. Not to sling blame, but to name the feeling, because that's how people recognize it when it happens to them. If this kind of conversation matters to you, tap like, share your take, and consider joining our membership through the join button. Your support is how we keep elevating voices that would rather not be muted. Unsurprisingly, the reaction in Akınözü's orbit has been explosive. Friends close to him whisper that this isn't simply irritation, it's rage. He reportedly believes that Ebru stepped across a red line by lifting intimate moments into the glare of the public square. From his point of view, this is a distortion, a portrait painted with the harshest strokes. He sees it as an attack on a reputation he's built day by day with discipline, quiet focus, and the stubbornness it takes to survive an industry that eats its own. This can't be left hanging, he's said to have told confidants. The defense, insiders say, leans on phrasing. He insists he never prohibited anything. He offered counsel, not commands. Advice born of experience. Warnings carved from scars. To watch that guidance recast as manipulation, they say, feels like betrayal. If the rumors hold, Akın's response has been retreat. Phone off. Threads of social media cut down to the minimum. He's stepped into the shelter of a tight inner circle, away from the churn of speculation. And there are reports, still unconfirmed, that he has sounded out legal opinions about what constitutes defamation, keeping options open while resisting the impulse to escalate. Maybe he's waiting for the noise to thin. Maybe he's building a response with the same precision people once praised in him. Silence, for now, has become its own kind of statement. As more light pours into a room that used to be dimmed on purpose, further details have surfaced about the rhythm of their days. Arguments, we're told, were frequent, but not explosive. They orbited around work and choices about the future. Ebru has always cut a figure of independence, fearless in her career, deliberate in her risks. Akın, by contrast, is portrayed as cautious, strategic, focused on synergy and shared direction. To some, that sounds like compatibility. To her, over time, it became friction. According to those who were there at the end, the sentence that melted whatever frost was left into a full breakdown was simple and devastating in its clarity: I want to chart my own course. Those words became the point of no return, the key that unlocked a door already cracking at the hinges. The aftermath, Ebru confided to friends, was the hardest terrain she's walked. Not the public chatter, that's background noise when you're in this business, but the internal work of reclaiming space in her own head. It is not easy to stop reflexively justifying, to stop rehearsing every answer to an invisible panel. She's not trying to live in the ashes, she told them. She's trying to live in the wind. The sentence that has become her anchor is this: I have no intention of living in the past, but telling my truth set me free. Those who see her now say there's a brightness they haven't seen in years, a person sifting through postponed dreams and dusting them off, trying them on again, checking how they feel in the light. The refrain she repeats to herself, they say, is a small revolution: I no longer owe anyone an explanation. Where does this leave Akın? That's the question vibrating through every comment section. Does he sit down for a raw conversation on camera and reframe the narrative? Or does he remain the knight of silence, allowing the storm to pass on its own while he holds the line in private? Which telling do you believe? Which version feels closest to truth? Say it. We are listening. And if you want the off-camera context, the messages, the timelines, the careful fact-checks that don't always make it to the surface, join the inner circle by hitting that join button. Turkish series Stars is where the public story meets the quiet details that matter. We stand at the hinge of a story that once read like a fairy tale designed for the feed and the explore page. The journey of Ebru Şahin and Akınözü, flaunted as effortless chemistry and shared destiny, now reminds us that even the most curated romances leave out the parts that hurt. Ebru's choice to break her silence has ignited necessary conversations about power balances and the subtle ways control can masquerade as care. Akın's pained quiet has its own gravity, making the absence of words feel as heavy as any statement. What's certain is that the ripple of this revelation will keep spreading. Is this the last chapter or the opening scene of a more public contest over memory and meaning? Either way, we'll be here. Turkish series Stars will track every step, every line spoken and every calculated pause, until there is nothing left to parse. If this story sparked something in you, a thought, a memory, a question, tap like so this conversation reaches others who need it. Share it with the person who will get what you're trying to say without you saying it. Subscribe if you haven't, and once more, consider joining our members' circle through the join button. That's how we keep doing more than skimming the surface. That's how we stay brave. Until the next exclusive, we'll be watching, listening, and telling the truth that hides between the headlines.